This is a damn it doll. And it has been absolutely vital for my survival throughout this almost 2-year COVID fiasco. You know what you do with a damn it doll? When you get really, really frustrated, you just pour all of that emotion into this little guy and you just go, damn it. Now, these videos are no longer just for my online class. These are also going to serve as supplements to my face-to-face classes, which honestly, as kind of a monkey wrench as that is, kind of works, because one of the things that I'm trying to do with the YouTube lectures is kind of sort of universalize what I'm doing in the classes. If these YouTube videos can work for people who are absent with COVID or people who have to go virtual with COVID, which could very realistically become the case, I could totally see us having to go completely virtual for a couple of weeks just because the numbers are so bad. If the YouTube videos can kind of just jump between the online and the face-to-face, I think that actually means I'm kind of doing something right, because I'm teaching across 2 different platforms that can kind of intersect. That's kind of the way that it should be. It's a little more work for me on this end, but sometimes I got to work. I don't like it, but I got to do it. Anyway, let's get some ideas out there and let's get a start on our first assignment. We don't have to get too terribly ambitious today, but I want to go ahead and kind of start putting one foot in front of the other. We're going to do a lot of writing in this class, and the writing often is going to be responding to things and building off of things that are, rooted in your own experience. And the place I like to start is the concept of oppression. Now, I'm a big old weirdo in a lot of ways. And one of my favorite things to kind of talk about and develop is definitions. Definitions are really, really interesting to me because a lot of people think that a word definition, I promise I'm not always going to be this morning. By the way, how awesome is my shirt? That's Macho Man Randy Savage, WWE champion, having some deep thoughts as he stares out into the distance. If you could please leave me a comment either in Blackboard or below this video about how much you love my shirt, it would be very appreciated. This is a shirt line called Roosevelt's. And whenever I record videos, I'm going to try very, very hard to wear a Roosevelt shirt. I mean, they are my favorite thing on planet Earth. Any case, definitions are not something that's necessarily as written in stone as you might think. Definitions change. Definitions can vary from person to person. We can actually spend a lot of time just arguing and discussing word definitions, especially when we get into the realm of philosophy. Oh, dear God, I'm sorry, guys. I'm being boring. I'm trying not to, I promise. But we are going to talk just a little bit about philosophy, just because philosophy doesn't have to be boring. It can be interesting, and I'm going to try to show you that in a minute. But anyway, the word is oppression. I have a feeling you guys have at least a few ideas of how you would define oppression if you had to. Oppression probably for you is stuff that's unpleasant, that is, problematic, stuff that has to be overcome, obstacles in your life, and those are all well and good. When you think about definitions in the sense that they are living, breathing things, just like languages, there's some space for us to have personal reactions and personal definitions of words. Now, a long time ago, there was a philosopher. Now, when I say a long time ago, I'm talking about, like the 30s. But that being said, for most of us, the 30s might as well just be, 100 years, 100. It is. I need more of this. Hundreds of years ago, as opposed merely to the almost 100 years ago that we're approaching. There was a philosopher named Paulo Freire. And Paulo Freire, I have his book somewhere. I don't know where. But Paulo Freire was a very influential figure for me as a teacher. I read his stuff when I was in college. And it really inspired a lot of the things that I do in the classroom. So Paulo Freire is very, very important to me. And one of the things that philosophers do is they introduce new definitions of terms in order to kind of like shape new ideas, right? Just to tell you a little bit more about Freire, he was an English teacher down, I think, in South America, Brazil at this point. And South America had a lot of problems with dictators, right? Tyrannical rulers who were absolutely just brutal in the way that they ran things. And so Freire was trying to teach language and communication down there. And I think it was Portuguese or Spanish. I know they speak Portuguese in Brazil. Golly, I am going on a million tangents today. I am sorry. You're definitely getting the patented David Bailey experience right now because I can't keep myself on task. Because guess what? I have ADHD. Who would have thought? In any case, Freire tried really hard to teach people who had lived under oppressive regimes how to write, how to communicate, and how to, improve their writing. And they were really, really resistant to it. They did not like a lot of the things that he was demanding them to do in his classes because, well, they had been conditioned to not think in transformative ways. For Freire, you really can't learn to write unless you are thinking in very transformative, ways that are changing, right? And you have to challenge your surroundings. You have to have room for growth. But, when you live under an oppressive regime, growth can be quite dangerous, especially if you're thinking about your identity in relation to that oppressive regime. Now, the reason this is important is because I think part of the reason that we struggle when we learn to write is because we all live with some degree of oppression that we have gotten used to and has actually kind of changed the way that we think. I love coffee. Oh God, I love coffee. In any case, so the word oppression for Freire, he took it upon himself to redefine this word. And I actually really like the way that Freire redefined this word. For Freire, oppression is a very specific thing. And the way that he defined it was anything that frustrates your ability to become more fully human. Now, one of the funny things that happens when we talk about philosophical ideas is we can't just let that definition sit there. We actually have to unpack it a little bit. These are complicated ideas. Now, don't panic, students on the other side, because I'm gonna really kind of interpret this for you. And when something's really, really important, I'll tell you. Okay, so just follow along with Mr. Bailey in story time here for a minute. So, if oppression is anything that frustrates our ability to become more fully human, that actually opens up a lot of interpretations of the word that you might not initially think about when we think about oppression, right? What does it mean to be more fully human? On that note, what does it mean to just be human? Right? That's a head exploder itself. I mean, last time I checked, I'm not anything other than human, right? I don't wake up on Saturday morning and to be like, you know what? I'm going to be a dung beetle today, or I'm going to be a dog, right? So what does that mean? If we are all human, what does it mean to be more human? Well, let's think about some of the facets of humanity. What makes us human other than our biology? Humans need freedom in order to be healthy and in order to be happy. Humans hunger in some level for growth, for improvement, for goals, to actually become more of what you are as an individual. That's more of what Freire is talking about. But the thing is, if you live under an oppressive dictator who is constantly threatening to shoot you for disagreeing with him, that's a pretty big obstacle to your growing humanity, right? It's frustrating to your growth. Now, I don't normally go into how this affects the education of writing because I'm not teaching you how to teach writing, but this has a lot of implications for how we teach people to write. Now, because people who are oppressed, like I said earlier, are closed to the types of self-assessment and change that they need in order to grow and improve as writers. So, if we want people to come out of the habits that oppression has lodged them into, we have to do very specific things. We have to break the habits where people are kind of sort of hiding and protecting themselves. And one of the easiest ways to do that for free air is to talk about what is oppressive, to recognize it and identify it, right? So, what oppresses us? What oppresses you as an individual? This is where we're going to start, and this is what our first writing assignment is going to explore. Now, I try very hard not to ask you to do things that I am not willing to do myself, and I try not to ask you to share things I'm not willing to share myself. So let me talk about what oppresses me so that you might have a little bit more of a blueprint of some potential responses to this question. Also, keep in mind, since this is coming from your personal perspective, it's really hard to get this question wrong. A lot of times students come to me and they ask, I got water too, because I'm, I got to hydrate. This stuff leaves you pretty dehydrated. Students come into this class and they often ask me, what's the right answer? I don't often ask questions that have exact right answers. And since I'm asking something from your perspective, theoretically, anything can be oppressive as long as you can explain to me why it is. So first off, let me do the more explicit ones that are like kind of clear and on the surface. Probably the biggest oppressive force in my life right now is my mental health. I have clinical depression, pretty severe clinical depression. I have attention deficit disorder. I have obsessive compulsive disorder. I have generalized anxiety disorder. I have 4 drummers drumming, 3 partridges in a pear tree. Sometimes I think I would have been really good as a comedian, and then I get in front of a face-to-face class again, and people just do not think I'm funny. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I probably made the right decision. In any case, my mental health has actually caused a lot of challenges for me over the years because there are a lot of things that come up in my life that's a lot more difficult for me to deal with and handle than it is for other people. Certain stressors and certain events can actually shut me down for a couple of days, and I have a really hard time dealing with them. That's pretty, excuse my language, that's pretty damn oppressive, right? Anyway, so bills, money. I think that one's kind of universal. We all have some experience with our bills and our finances being oppressive in some way, right? Now, let me go and actually take this in a little bit of a different direction. There are things that can be oppressive to us that are very necessary in our lives, things that we want in our lives, things that are important to us. And I use this example all the time because it's a very good one. You know what oppresses the hell out of me? My kids. I love my kids. My kids are probably the most important thing in my life right now. Well, I mean, except for Call of Duty Cold War, but kind of priorities, right? Now, I would love to drop everything and just go to Alaska, just go up there to experience Alaska. I would love to do that. But I have people in my life who are 100% dependent upon me. They need me. They need the income I provide. They need the emotional support I try to provide. They need the structure. They need so much from me. And I give it to them, right? So there are a lot of ways that a parent can leave the children. There are a lot of ways that a person can do that, and I don't. I wake up every day and I accept and I carry that oppressiveness with me because it's important to me. My wife, I don't think it's possible to be in a functioning marriage and not be oppressive to each other. I tell her all the time, she is the stone I break myself against, right? She stands in opposition to me. There are things that we do not agree on. We irritate each other, but that is a marriage, right? Now, just like my children, I wake up every day and I accept her and I cherish her. She is often an oppressive force, as any human being who is in your life will be. The question of what oppresses you is a complicated one. There are truly negative oppressors, whether it's your health, your finances, your geographic location. This heat can go to... This heat sucks, right? It's awful. But there are also positive oppressors, things that we choose, things that we carry. What I want you guys to do for now, I'm going to create a new discussion forum in Blackboard. And that discussion forum is going to be Assignment 1, Oppression. We are going to gradually add to this concept as the next few weeks go by, and you're eventually going to submit a paper exploring what oppresses you. You're going to have a lot of different angles to write about it. But for right now, I want you to go into the discussion forum, and I want you to tell me about what oppresses you. And I want you to try to tell me at least two. I want you to tell me an oppressor that is 100% negative. And then I want you to tell me an oppressor that has some positivity to it. You choose it. Okay? We're going to keep it simple for right now. I have a lot of students who are still trying to figure out their status in the class. Students who are trying to figure out whether they're going to be in the class or not. And we're still doing kind of a test of the emergency broadcast system here with YouTube itself. So I want to definitely make sure everybody can see my videos and respond to them the way they need to be responded to. So that's all for now. Please go into the discussion forum. I'll leave some written instructions for that as well. And we'll follow up on Monday with a new video and some new instructions, and we're going to start putting this bad boy together. We'll also do our first team session next week, but I'll be in communication about that. Anyway, if you're having any trouble with the technology, if you cannot watch these videos, or if these videos are presenting a challenge for you in any way whatsoever, please contact me, because we can do this in different ways if we need to. I love me some YouTube, right? YouTube works extremely well for me to communicate in a way that's very natural, that actually feels like I'm talking to you as an instructor. But if it's causing you issues, we will figure it out. All right. I appreciate you guys. Look forward to seeing what you come up with for the discussion forum. And I hope you have a good rest of your week.